Hey, what's up guys? Jackson here with Toasty DIY out on this beautifully not sunny day. And yeah, today we're gonna be doing a little bit of a project, kind of like some arts and crafts. So recently I got a really awesome guitar that I got a Gibson Les Paul. I'm wanting to make a display case for it for the office to be in the background of the streams and stuff. But there's a couple things I want with this case. One is that I don't want to break the bank. I don't want to spend a ton of money. You can buy a display case for, I would say, around $200 is about where they start. You can get some cheaper, but I've seen some pretty bad reviews. And so, you know what, I was like, hey, I wonder how cheap I can build one of these. So firstly, just to kind of show you guys what exactly I'm talking about, it's just something like this. This one's kind of fancy and has actual lights in it, which I do plan on putting an LED strip, not anything crazy like display lights, but yeah, something like this. I'm wanting it to be vertically mounted. It's not going to go horizontal, so I'm only going to need an actual, standard guitar wall mount to actually hold the guitar inside of the case. All right, so I just real quick want to go over all the supplies that I got and that we should need for the project. Keep in mind, you could do this so many different ways and you could do it with a lot less stuff, but all in all, on actual, just everything needed for the actual cabinet assembly, I spent about $100, give or take. And that is because, I did get a LED strip, which that alone's 20 bucks. And yeah, you can definitely spend some money on odds and ends, but the actual wood and acrylic isn't too bad. So for the wood, once again, we have 1/2-inch plywood, pretty basic stuff, very cheap. You usually are gonna buy it in 8x4, 8x8 foot sections and have it cut down. This is just a scrap piece that I had. These are just standard deck boards. They're 5.5, or I think they might even just call them 6-inch, but I believe that they measure out at 5.5. We just have 2 of those because they're less than 4 feet along the main side, so we'll have enough with just 2 of them. I bought some felt from Michael's, and I wasn't happy that I couldn't get it all in one piece. To actually fit the whole entire cabinet, I had to go with 2 pieces, so we'll have to try to make the seam look the best we can. We also got a pretty big size hinge. Rather than going with like 2 or 3 separate ones, I just got a really large single one, so we'll see how well that works. And it is nickel plated, I believe. Nickel plated lockable latches. We really only need one, so this is zinc plated actually. The LED light that I told you guys about, these are the 2x2s, and all this wood's treated too, which typically means it's going to be a little bit stronger and technically last longer, though it's not going outside, so you really don't have to go treated. You could spend less. And then of course we have the piece of acrylic. This is 0.08, I believe. Just pretty standard plexiglass. It should be really easy to cut. Now for actual tools, this can really vary. I mean, it just depends on if you want to go really advanced or really barbaric with it. I'd say I'm probably kind of in the middle. I don't have the greatest tools, but they're pretty decent. I do have a Sawzall here that's Makita. We have a drill and also an impact, for pre-drilling holes and getting the screws in. We have a circular saw, which this will be good for doing like the really long cuts and just trying to make really straight cuts. Plastic cutting knife, these are like $4. That's gonna be for cutting the acrylic. There's a lot of other ways you can do it as well. I went ahead and bought the Dremel router kit because I already have a nice Dremel. I didn't have a router, but I really didn't want to spend over $100 on a name brand router, so that I'm not going to use very often. If I'm being honest, I've never actually even used a router, so this is going to be a fun learning experience. But these are actual router bits. The main reason I got the router isn't because I want to make the outside of the case super fancy. I just want to be able to add a channel, or I guess you could call it a chamfer, on the middle of these, and that's what's going to sit the acrylic in so that it actually doesn't need any screws or mounting. And once we set it in, we'll glue the backside, so it'll actually sit flush, no tools necessary. It'll keep the acrylic nice and sturdy, and I just think it would look a lot better having it actually in the wood a little bit rather than screwing it on the back or gluing it on the back, but you could go that route and glue it. And then lastly, we have screws. So these are the Power Pro screws. Normally I would just use like standard Phillips screws, but I hate they strip out so easily. So these actually come with the bit you need and everything. They're actually pretty good screws, and they're really not expensive for how many you get. And of course, measuring tools. So yardstick and then a square. That's to make sure we get straight cuts and everything. So I think that we're pretty much ready to start building. So I'm just gonna throw the GoPro on my head and get to it.
Stone cold stunner. She was a winner, started working at the diner. slippery slope.
All right, guys, so we got it finished up. I do have the camera on like a fisheye or a wide angle lens right now, so it might look a little bit weird, but this thing actually turned out really cool. I ended up not staining it. I didn't even really finish any of the edges or anything, so you know, it's a pretty rough prototype, I guess you could call it. I even actually kind of messed up down here and cracked some of the acrylic when I was using the reciprocating saw to actually cut the acrylic, but yeah, I mean, everything worked out good. We got the lock on here and everything. We got the LED lights, and I did have to use glue to actually get them to go on, but this dimmer is really cool. You can make it go from like super bright to off really easily. But yeah, I mean, it turned out really good. The only other thing I could think of is if you decide to copy the exact dimensions, make it a little bit taller or have the acrylic up a little bit more, because right now the guitar is slightly touching on the some of the pickups and stuff. So yeah, just make sure that you you know, make it to where it's tall enough. Sorry, I meant to say the strings. But yeah, I mean, overall though, I like it. It would look better with some stain. It'd look better, you know, polished and finished and whatnot with some clear coat. It obviously look better too if we were able to use one piece of felt, but you know, we had to use a couple. I'll go ahead and show you guys that open too, because that does work. And we can gotta do this with one hand. Ta-da! So yeah, easy to open, get your guitar out and everything. You know, secure for the most part. I mean, really, if someone wanted to, they could easily just break through that. You could obviously use whatever thickness of acrylic you wanted to, if you really wanted to make this, you know, foolproof. And obviously, you could put pretty much anything in one of these. I mean, it's really just a display cabinet. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.